Hey y'all, what's going on? It is another Saturday night of your knowledge and relationships land, and I am joined by one of my best friends here who always holds it down, Mrs. M3. How you doing, ma'am?
I'm doing well. Good evening. Good evening, everybody in chat land. Good evening, every viewer. And
Good.
it's so nice to see you, Miss Kalila.
Same here. Same. Good to see you. Your smiling face and soft voice. Hopefully, we're gonna not hopefully we're going to hold it down. And whoever would like to join us, ladies, tonight is truly ladies' night. So before we get started, this is a sip and chat. So I'm sipping on my good old H. I'm going boring tonight. H2O, no flavor.
Yeah, me too.
All right, so we're gonna stay hydrated through this night. So first of all, let's talk about how's your week been? What's any highlights that you want to
Oh,
celebrate?
this has been a good week. My students were doing their CPR training this week, so they had a fun time. They come into class with smiles. All the desks were cleared, so they got their desks back on Friday. They're like, the desks are back. So we've been having a good time learning about CPR and how to use the AED machines and all that good stuff. They're doing fitness trainer projects right now. So
Oh, so tell
they're
us
learning
what
how to
class.
design
What do you
health science.
teach?
Health science.
Health science. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What grade
So,
level?
ninth graders.
Oh wow. I bet no. I know what I was like as a ninth grader, but that's kind of challenging but fun, kind of fun at the same time.
Yeah, I remember ninth grade. I had a health class, but we didn't do CPR like with the dolls and stuff like that. Um, and then half of it, the other half of it, there was health in one section of it, and then we had um, driver's education was the second semester of it. But our students go to World Geo, so
Oh wow, that's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
All Alrighty then. So let me see if anybody has jumped in the chat. Um, shoot. All right. So no one so far. No one has made any comments. So just sit back and watch, and hopefully you enjoy the conversation. So tonight's conversation is women owning the space they occupy. I shouldn't have to give a disclaimer, but here we go. Men, this is not about you. This is not about poking at you. This is not has nothing to do with you directly. This is about women celebrating themselves, feeling empowered about who they are, what they're doing in their life. It's women uplifting other women because oftentimes society finds every way, and not just men, women in the society who are afraid of their own power find ways to try to suppress, you know, make someone feel little about themselves because they are empowered. So this is just hopefully a conversation where we can talk about, moments where you felt less empowered, you shied away from, we're going to get into that. And it's not meant to be controversial, just a simple girl chat, as if the ladies were sitting around for a spa night, girls night in, whatever. And we're just sipping and talking, the grown woman talk, okay? We're going to keep it
Okay,
clean and classy. Clean and classy.
let's see.
So, of course, y'all know I read all kind of articles because I don't just want to come up here spewing things on top of my head. So, I found an article that was very interesting, and it was written by Jane Benston, and it talks about the power of owning your space. It doesn't speak directly to women. However, we can look at this from the female perspective. And this doesn't just mean owning your space on your job, it's owning your space everywhere you are. Um, so I want to start out by asking this, Mrs. M3. Can you recall a moment in your life where you shrunk yourself? Um, you didn't go after an opportunity. You felt like I'm not worthy in a particular moment in time or space in your life.
Um, I think we touched on it in one of the women's days, ladies nights. I forget which one. But there are more than a few times, like whether it's for work or other things, I won't fight with someone. If they want to
Mm,
do something, let them do it, you know.
okay.
A lot of the time I can be underestimated, like, oh, they don't know or whatever. I'll let people assume what they want to assume, and I do things, and then oh, they're surprised. Oh, you know how to do well. If you didn't ask and you assume that I didn't, then okay, you know, have at what you need. But I'm gonna do things so that I accomplish what I need to accomplish in life. Um, I don't force my way into things. Um, I know my purpose, and I'm about my purpose, and that's that's always been who I am. Um, Feeling less than. I have people in my life that I guess younger, older, have tried to belittle me. But when
Wow.
you know your purpose and you know your place, they they can do what they want to do. That's just how they perceive you. It's not you, you know.
Yeah.
You live your life and your trajectory is your that's the path that God set for you. Nobody can take that from you, no matter what they think of you, you know. Um, I I've seen it, like actively seen it, where you're in the room in a space with familiar people, and um, maybe the lighter shade of you know the complexions that are European can be, not all of them, can be belittling when they
Hmm.
have insecurities around their own shade of people. Like they treat you a
Yes.
certain way when it's just you and them, and then they treat you a different way when it's their shade.
Hmm.
For the insecurity within them, it's not anything to do about you. And I think when I got older, I understood that.
Okay.
I grew up, my household, my family has always been eclectic, all shades and all, like, we've got Korean,
Oh,
Japanese, we got Native American, Portuguese. Like our family is very eclectic in that regard. But so I've been around it and I've seen it. And the church that I grew up in was also a multicultural, predominantly Black, but multicultural church, in that there were a lot of different, families, mixed families. Some of them don't like that term mixed. So
mm-mm.
we're all human. Um, but you learn that people's insecurities can be projected,
Hmm.
and then you understand how to operate for yourself in your purpose regardless of how they treat you.
Yes, ma'am.
So
Yes.
I'll say that.
And so, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's that's what I'll say about that.
Okay. I can recall times in my life where, okay, going back to my first introduction to the nonprofit world. At the time, I was a single parent. I was in my 20s and I didn't have my bachelor's degree, even though I had started, wasn't nowhere near finishing. And so I was working at this agency. They accepted me fully. However, when it was time to go to board meetings and other community meetings with other directors and people of higher positions within their agencies, I felt some kind of way, or I allowed myself to feel some kind of way because I felt they're going to look at me. I've always been, overweight, plus size, whatever you want to call it, but still at the time I was in still a shape or whatever that I could maneuver around, so it wasn't that I was just anywho. And I dressed fairly nice, I didn't have the name written clothes, but I felt like I dressed nice. I presented myself well. So anyway, um I would get ready for these meetings and things, and I would shrink myself. I would think, well, they're looking at me as this single black fat woman, single parent, no degree. These are labels that I attached to myself because I thought that's what they thought, and it wasn't the case. And so for too long, many of us women, not everybody, of course, but many of us, we attach labels and limitations on ourselves without just boldly walking into a space and say, okay, I got this. They either want to accept me or they're not. I'm not going to be brash. I'm not going to be rude and disrespectful, but they will respect me, my knowledge and my capabilities.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate to say that it's something ingrained in us, but somewhere over time, someone in our life, like you said, have tried to make you feel like who you are was not good enough in that moment, or like what you brought to the proverbial table was not adequate, didn't add up, based on their presumptions and their, thoughts and
Mm-hmm.
whatever. So that's the one thing I want to leave with, ladies, whoever, men. This conversation is not just for ladies, but it's ladies' night. So it's about the ladies. I want to just leave this with you. Start going within, figure out who you are, what you bring, what you have to offer, and how your skill set can contribute to the whole of society. Um, there's so many references, and we're gonna get into that because I found another website. I gave M3 the link that he's gonna post in the chat later, and it is there's a timeline of women around the world going all the way back to like the 1600s or 1500, even like back to Egypt times. Hey
Yeah.
Wally, how you doing?
Okay.
um, it's like women around the world since the dawn of time have been advocating for women's rights in every area possible. Um, and even though all of these milestones have been met and some of them surpassed, there's still the number, when you look at statistics around the world, there are still many areas where women fall in the lower category, the lower statistical categories when it comes to equal pay or recognition for this or representation in this career field or, whatever it is. So there's still work to be done, even though there's a lot of that has been. And so that's where we come in, those that know more, have more wisdom. We need to be grabbing these little babies up this 2021. Like, I was your age once. Let me tell you something about life, baby.
Find your purpose.
Yes.
Listen, and it goes back, like, even think about CJ Walker, Madam CJ Walker, right?
Yeah.
The hair change and all that. I remember even as early or as, as recent as 2019, changing my hair, like doing flat irons again, where I haven't been in
Hmm.
flat irons for a very long time now, but um, braids and flat irons, that's what I would do, braids and flat irons. And I got a job and I felt, oh, subscribe to the norm, flat iron your hair because braids are not acceptable. I've never weaved my hair, but I have braids. I've done braids. I've
Okay.
done flat irons to the point where, like, silk press, people thought I was wearing a wig. I'm like, this is my hair,
Oh,
pull it,
wow.
my hair. But when you find identity in it and you realize, like, oh, I, I left it alone for a while, then I got insecure about my hair again and went and pressed it again. Actually permed
Ooh,
it, Brazilian blowout and that stuff. My hair, my natural hair, growing back in, and the Brazilian blowout just ripping. I was
yes.
not bald because the new growth was there, but you could just see it was straggly. It just needed to be
Yes.
cut off. And I'm like, I am not doing that to myself for nobody. Like, I'm never going to, out of insecurity, flat iron or perm my hair. Like, I get it. If it's me, I want to do it just to, just to do it, just to go back to it or something. But that perm, that was extreme.
Yeah.
That was an extreme. That was like insecurity. Like, oh, I'm tired of flat iron and I'm tired of this. And I'm tired of people talking about, my kitchen. That's what they call it. The kitchen that black folks
Yeah.
call it, the kitchen. Black folks don't get on you as much. It's the, other shades that'll be like, even, at, at my school, you'll see the students do it too. They'll be behind you with a phone, like click,
Yeah.
click, click. And it just makes you feel like, okay, so I don't go behind you with my camera on your split ends. Come on now, stop it.
Yeah.
And when it's grown folks that do it, it's more like, come on, for real? Like, haven't we
How
grown
did
out
we
of this
get
stage?
here?
Like, I mean, when I grew up, we didn't have phones. So it wasn't like that, but nowadays you got phones and you got social media and this and that. And those insecurities, even as a grown person, it can be like, okay, know your insecurities and deal with them.
That part.
Press chair all day. You know what? My students start doing things like that. I'll be like, and
Okay.
like, and then I have a whole conversation about how our cells in our body and our vessels, the blood vessels, all those things that carry, we can stretch it out and it would wrap the earth 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
That's just like curly hair. And they're like, no way. And I'm like, oh yeah, you see? And they're like, you know,
Yeah.
so you have to, God makes your test a testimony. Figure out what your insecurities are, then figure out your purpose. What's the
Yeah.
purpose in? Because there's more to life than this, but I'm the adult, and maybe, in this situation, help them understand. Like, maybe
Mm-hmm.
there's other people that aren't ready or that don't know their insecurities and they're not ready to face it and they're feeling bad about it. So, okay, so now that you understand, I don't go around, pointing out your split ends. Let's,
Okay.
there's no what curly hair, straight hair, it doesn't matter. We're all
That's
human.
right.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. And that's another aspect of owning your space, owning who you are,
Yes.
accepting who you are. I want to
Hmm.
welcome Miss Queen. How you
Hi,
doing?
Queen. You there?
Did she go quiet on us again? I know she be working like 50, 11 jobs and stuff, and so she probably at what she can. But
Yep.
just want to say, hey, Queen, and welcome. Definitely want to recognize some people in the Queen. Recognize some people in the chat. Hello to Truth and Purpose. Cola Nix. Greetings to the panel and chat. Um, let's see. And then,
Lady
okay,
How?
Lady Hell, the interventionist. Hello to you
Okay.
all. Thank you for joining us. So feel
Is that
free to
Sir
join the
Hill
conversation.
Speaks wife?
Huh?
Is that Sir Hill Speaks wife?
I
Lady
don't
Hell?
know.
Hell?
I don't
How?
know. I don't.
Let
Queen, are
us
you
know in
here?
the chat. Are you related or married to Sir Hill Speaks? Lady How? Intellectualist? Interventionist?
She said yes. Okay.
Oh, hey.
Hi.
Nice to
Hello.
meet you. It's my first time seeing you in the chat.
Lisa, thank you for joining us. If you would like to join the panel, M3, please give her the link. Hi, Queen.
Hey, how are you?
All right, how you doing tonight?
Good, good.
All right, so
How
we
are you
really just
guys?
getting started with the conversation, talking about women owning the space that they occupy. And I just asked the question: has there ever been a time? Now y'all know Queen is a no nonsense kind of person. She's probably gonna be like no, but has there ever been a time in your life where you either you shrunk yourself or you allowed somebody else to make you feel less than, like you didn't belong in certain spaces?
Um, yeah, I think sometimes in school I was quiet, and I was able to go to the club when I turned 16 with my older sisters, And no one in my school actually believed that I went to a club. That's how quiet I was.
Oh wow.
And so I had to, there were some performers performing, and they, they knew that they gave out a certain wristband, blah, blah, blah. So they was like, okay, if you go on Saturday, don't wash your hand, like wear the stamp, because there was a specific stamp that glowed,
Okay.
and don't cut off the wristband, and, and try to get a picture, I wasn't using my cell phone at the time, but so I did all those things, and it was like, and I said, and there was a special guest, and so they was like, who's the special guest? So they didn't announce. They talked about it on the radio that Monday, but they didn't talk about it over the weekend. Who the
Okay.
special guest was. So when I got to school, I was like, the special guest was so and so, and they performed this song, they performed this song, and they was like, "Oh, you went! Oh my gosh!" So I was like, "Look at the glow! Don't hate, cause your mama won't let you go." But yeah, but
Yeah.
I think at times, sometimes especially in the work field, I feel like I have, or I can have a tendency to shrink back because um, I'm. It's not that I try to be authoritative, but if I know how something runs, I'll just say, "Hey, this is what blah 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 blah." So I feel like punks always want to say, "Oh, she was trying to tell me what to do." Well, you knew you don't know what to do, so you're right. But they take it as I'm trying to boss them around, and so I just go, I'm not going to be as assertive. So it's still finding that balance between speaking up and being too assertive, and people being too sensitive, and blah blah blah, you know. So I just, yeah, I'm still dealing with that. But I know what Mrs. M3 was talking about. I heard her. I was having some connection problems. I heard her talking about her hair, and what's funny is like I never really realized how curly and nice my hair was growing up, because my mom would just let it dry, and then she would comb it. I'd be like, oh hell no, put it in braids. Like, stop touching me with the comb. She was just not gentle. My dad was very gentle. And so I just wanted a perm because, I got tired of being called a different ethnicity. So Dominicans and Puerto Ricans, they would speak to me in Spanish, and I'd be like, I don't know what you're saying. Like, stop talking to me. They was like, oh, you don't know. So it was almost like a diss, like, you don't know who you are. And I'd be like, bitch, I'm not Puerto Rican and Dominican, okay? So stop saying you don't know who you are. Fuck out of here. But anyway, so so I got a perm because I got tired of being told I was Dominican and Puerto Rican. So yeah, I was like, Mom, can you just let me get a perm? So she was like, okay, whatever. And so when I got to college, I let my perm grow out. And I was like, okay, you got some nice curls. So, so after that, I was just, and it's crazy because I've always wanted to. I had a weave once in my life, and I've always wanted to weave, and none of the guys I've ever been with wanted like weaves. They was like, don't put that in your hair, like, what's wrong with you? And then my husband, like, I showed him, like, he saw my book for our wedding, and I showed him the hairstyle I'm wearing. He was like, look, he said, you show up to my wedding with that in your hair, I'm pulling it out. So I was like, whoa. So I was like, scratch that. So yeah. So he, everyone that I've ever dated, like, really liked the curly hair, other than the most I would do is box braids or cornrows, but for the most part, yeah.
Okay.
And I don't wear a lot of makeup either, I just feel like it's too much work,
I do.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well, I mean,
5 minutes. You didn't want to
I
dress
have
up. It's five
sensitive
minutes.
eyes too.
Oh
I have very sensitive eyes with allergies, so I can't put on fake
no.
eyelashes because my eyes, if I got a scratch, I'm gonna look like a raccoon. So I'd rather not do that to myself. I mean, I wear makeup, but I don't. I never grew up around it. Like my mom wasn't
Right.
someone who wore a lot of makeup, and I thought she was beautiful. So none of my sisters wear a lot of makeup, so I never really, a eyeshadow, a little bit of blush, some lipstick, and to keep it pushing. So
I'm
yeah,
glad you brought that up because that reminded me. No, of course, sorry. Growing up, makeup wasn't a big deal in our house. There was a little powder and rouge, as my aunt would call it, a little blush, and she had like one or two lipsticks. She literally wore them all the time. Anyway, the whole eyebrows and eyeshadow and all that extra. Like I never saw a lot of makeup in our house. Even my cousins that I grew up with as my sisters, lipstick, a little blush, like literally just a little blush and some lipstick. And so when I became a teenager, I'm like, oh, I'm fascinated because the girls in my school were wearing makeup. Mhm. And so I'm like, okay, I want to get into foundation and eyeshadow, get into all the extraness. Well, then later in life, it became more of a crutch. And I can remember being at work and this guy was like, Kabila, why are you always putting on makeup? Why are you always, he's like, you're really pretty. Why are you always doing, and it was a white guy. I'm like, well, I don't know. I just feel like I need it. And then when I got married, my ex-husband was like, you have pretty skin. And but all I could see is the flaws in myself. So that was me not owning that space that I was in. I didn't feel like I was pretty enough without stuff. And then life happened. I went through my ups and downs. So then I had to get to a point where, okay, I'm wearing makeup because I want to now, not because I have to. It's because I want to. And then being on camera, I'm like, okay, this is HD, 4K, whatever it is. I'm like, I'm still in my head at times.
No blemishes.
I'm still in my
Yeah.
head at times, like, okay, I got bags, I got this, and
no, I get it. I get it. I had donated some stuff to another organization, and they was like, "Oh, let me take a picture," and I was like, so my hair is usually in a bun. So I took it out and I was like, okay, let me just look some. And they sent me the picture. I was like, oh hell no. I said, I'm gonna send you a different picture. Cause I'm going to work. Like, I work at a homeless shelter. Like, I don't dress up. So I was telling my sister, I was like, oh no, I can't be making these appearances and be looking crazy. So I'm gonna have to do a Superman or something, Clark Kent, and have my little bat cave where I change out, just so at least from the waist up, I look like something, because I was looking real rough, and I was like, oh no, I can't do this. Like I told the lady, was like, oh, I think you look fine. I was like, yeah, no, I'll send you another picture. Please don't post that. I'm gonna crop myself out of it.
Yeah, makeup is it's like in our life because of commercials, I guess, and we see it, but a lot of the time we without makeup, natural, people are like, "Oh, your skin is so flawless," and "Oh, your health. What's your age?" Like, you don't look your age. Um,
Yeah.
I think makeup just, it's a take it or leave it for me. It's not like a crutch. It's never been. But I grew up Pentecostal too, so even like if I like when I first started putting on makeup, it seemed out of place. It seemed like I don't know. I don't know. I took some getting used to for me.
That's
And
crazy because
my mom didn't wear makeup growing up too. I mean, when she showed me a picture when she was married to her first husband where she had makeup on and everything. And she said that night there was a man at the bar that asked her, like, what was she doing there at the bar? Like, she didn't belong there. And she was like, was he a deacon at the church or something? Like, they didn't go to church anymore. But like, she felt like, God was telling her, like, too much, like, yeah, this isn't where you belong, kind of thing. And she actually started going back to church after that because of the guy's comments.
Oh,
So,
I don't know what Pentecostal church you went to, but the Pentecostal church I used to visit with my neighbor, they looked like they was going to the club.
oh yeah, we had
So
some. We had
yeah,
some, but at our church, no.
everybody in that church, unless they were under 18, everybody 18 and up looked like
Yeah.
they was about to drop it low, you
The
know.
churches
So
that visited with us would come like that, but our church specifically, we couldn't even wear
mm,
stockings. The girls couldn't even wear stockings till we were 16, heels till we were 16. So it was very strict, and our skirts were below our knees. If you saw like our skirts above our knees, we'd probably wind up in the prayer room. That was like the punishment. You have to
Oh,
go
yeah.
pray
Well,
and
I mean,
spend time
they
with
didn't
God.
have to worry about that with me because we used to sing in their choir, but they had to worry about my mouth. So I used to curse
Yeah.
people out.
I,
and
you
there's
know
a
what? I remember
That's a whole nother.
in high school, I went to school. It was, how high school has Spirit Day. And do you remember, like I grew up in the 90s, so I was in high school in the 90s. There was a group called what was the name? Crisscross.
mm-hmm.
So it was Crisscross
Yes,
Day,
jump.
and I wore mismatched shoe. I had one LA Gear on and one black flat shoe. I was at school, but my school was very close to like where we go to church and where the pastor lives and stuff. And I got reported. Somebody told the pastor she went to school with mismatched shoes. I saw her walking to school this morning. She's mismatched shoes. I got in trouble for that. I wasn't even at church. I was on my way to school. Like, who saw me? I don't even know. But we weren't allowed to do stuff like that. Like, forget makeup and jewelry. There was so many strict rules that we had. And our pastor, it was a Pentecostal church, but he grew up like Southern Baptist. So he had
Okay.
a lot of very deep ingrained Southern Baptist things, plus the Pentecostal strict
Ooh,
skirts
child.
to your knee and no dating and courting until you're ready to get married. All that kind of stuff was all at once, like all together in that. It was
Oh my
interesting.
God.
Yeah.
They tried to do that to me because I went to Catholic school and Catholic church, and I took the communion and I didn't like it, so I put it under the pew. So one of the nuns saw me at church on Sunday doing that, but my mother was sitting right there. I mean, she didn't see me because I'd have got popped. But so I went to school and they tried to put me on punishment. And I said, look, I said what I do Friday at 4 till Monday at 8 is none of your business. And if you ever try to give me a punishment for something that my parents were sitting there for me to do, you gonna get your feelings hurt. So they,
Dude,
yeah, I was like, you ain't about to chastise me. I don't care.
Oh God.
I'll do
we
it
had the
again.
yeah, we had the fear of God from the bishop. It was like you don't talk to
Uh,
bishop like that. Not even the men
I
talk
ain't
to bishop like
fear.
that. It was
That's the
scary.
problem.
It was a
I didn't
scary
fear
place.
anybody,
Yeah. I
Young
even
think
my
I think
parents.
to be honest, it was unhealthy. Like I think we feared the bishop more than we feared God
Oh
at
wow.
times. I think.
Okay. And so that's one of those things again where women get made to feel like they don't belong or they don't matter in certain spaces. Women are made to feel subservient,
Mhm.
especially in the church setting. But we won't touch on that. I want to acknowledge some of the comments because I want to thank everybody for joining us. Let's see. Let's start. Okay, so Lady Hale says, "Nice to meet you all." She's cooking. She can't come up right now, but she's loving the show. Cola Nick says, I had that happen to me a lot my first 4 years in the military to own my space. I learned everything that men knew plus more. I became more knowledgeable, which boosted my confidence. Yes. She also says, after I got the small boost, that small boost. It was a wrap from there. Now my presence does the speaking for me. Can someone else read some of the comments right quick, please? I need to handle something.
I cannot see the comments.
We'll talk about that military in church owning your space. And then,
Militant church. Well, it was, but I mean, you don't know it until you leave it. So I guess for us, that's all we knew. So it wasn't hard. It was just some things were a surprise. You do it, you get in trouble for it, and then you realize, oh, that too? I can't do that too. That's all. But yeah, um, I don't know. Growing up Pentecostal afforded a lot of uh, sheltered life, like not even going to the movies, couldn't do those things. I guess it spared me from a lot of stuff, but at the same time, made me kind of oblivious to the world at large. Kind of like kids that are homeschooled, even though I wasn't homeschooled, they learn life after they get out there, you know? It was like that. Once I got to college.
okay, y'all, I apologize for that. Just had to handle something. And I see we have a guest incoming, and I have a few more
Okay,
comments that I want to read. So come on up, guest. Join the ladies club. Hi, Lagoda.
Goda, welcome in.
Hello.
Hello.
Is it your first time in the chat?
I think so. And here specifically.
Welcome. And your first time on the panel too?
Yeah,
This is my
I
first time
think
saying their
so.
name.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Uh, all right, if you give me just a
So,
moment, I'm gonna
and
read a few more
okay.
I'm gonna read a few more comments, and then we'll bring you in to the conversation. All right, so we stopped through Cola Nix, where she talked about her time in the military, and then says once she got that boost, it was a wrap from there. Now my presence does the speaking for me. I'm definitely gonna get into that. Then she started talking about when we talk about makeup, most men love natural. I don't really love a man to say what is natural to them. Like, please, man. Um, Lady Hell says I grew up with women most of the time. I grew up with women most of the time would put on natural makeup. Didn't get into a full beat till in my 20s, and I'm still basic sometimes. Sometimes I be basic, but like on nights like tonight, I get a little extra. um, and intellectual soapbox, no, no jungle fever. It was somebody I work with. Thank you very much. But I do have some stories about some white men. We're gonna say them for another night. Um, Colin Nick says, I love all things beauty. I love makeup or no makeup. I just love skin, period. Yes, I would love for us to do a conversation about just taking care of your skin, in the most natural way possible. Um, let's see. Okay, Colin Nick says, Queen, if your eyes itch a lot, a cold compress will help. The history of makeup is amazing. It really is. All right, so and Cola says, I love crisscross. They grew up Southern Baptist. The crackers are dry. The crackers are dry. So,
It's
alrighty, y'all.
not
Thank y'all
crackers,
for
they're like wafers. They look
like
like
paper or
plastic,
something.
like yeah.
Oh, Cola
And
says she's. Oh,
go ahead.
no. I just said Cola says she's a retired esthetician. Well, we definitely need to have you to do a whole skincare thing because, yeah. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Queen. Are they like paper plasticky?
Yeah, they
I
look
don't know.
like like those old school um things that hang and they have like the little string on the back of them
Girl, no
thin
ma'am.
round circles.
A paper mache?
Yeah, but it's like they're like plastic and it's almost like people used to hang them like beads. Like you see them in old school movies like almost circles.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
The beads
Yeah,
that hang in the
yeah,
door
and they used to
frame.
hang down. Uh-huh. So
Okay.
yeah, they're really
I can
thin,
say something, please.
thin.
Um,
Yes, the
Go ahead.
Golda.
yes, it's my first time here. You don't have to send me back 5 minutes after I speak. Anyway, just want to say hello and want to know and what is the conversation.
Well, tonight is ladies' night, and we're talking about the
Ah, oh,
women empowering each other, women feeling empowered and feeling confident and owning the spaces they're in and not letting people make them feel less than.
okay then. I'm not. I don't belong in that this category. In that category, definitely. Well, in that
Please
case, I
stay.
will.
Learn some
Huh?
things, be an advocate. Please stay. I mean, in the
Okay.
chat, you can stick around.
You can stay in
Okay.
the hang
Anyway,
around
I
the chat. We're gonna
Yeah.
invite the men
I
up a
want
little
to
bit
say.
later.
Yeah, just I want to say before that this is not my usual profile, and tomorrow I'm going. There is a big holiday where I am, so I wish you all a happy holiday.
Happy holiday to you too. Is it Ramadan?
What? No, I'm not a
No, it's not
Muslim.
Ramadan. Okay.
No, it's a new Jewish year. It's Rosh Hashanah.
Oh. Well, Rosh
Rosh
Yeah, you
Hashanah.
do,
Hashanah, Jewish.
yeah, you didn't
Happy
look
Rosh
about.
Hashanah.
Yeah, thank you. Tomorrow we are celebrating over here.
Yay.
You didn't see the profile. That's why I have this profile.
Very nice.
You
Thank you
see?
for sharing with us. Honey and fruit. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, honey and
Thank you.
apples. That's what we are going to eat tomorrow night.
That's
Okay.
Anyway,
wonderful.
I will be in the car.
Okay.
Okay. He's
Alrighty.
going to be in the
So
chat. I think he's going to be in the chat. Thank you for
all right.
popping in.
So for all the fellas, we will give you some like I'm not greedy, I'm not selfish. We'll let y'all come up and say our little piece. But again, men, this is not a dig at you. This is about women supporting, celebrating, uplifting, empowering, all that jazz to women. Want to say hello to my podcast sister and friend, Miss McKinney. If you would like to join the conversation, please do. We'll more than happy to have you. She joined us on Tuesday night and was a great addition. So, anyway, just to continue on the conversation. So again, this article that I read, I'll post the link to this article in the chat, in the YouTube chat, but it talks about owning your space. And again, that just simply means digging deep within yourself. And like Mrs. M3 talked about, finding your purpose, knowing who you are, what do you believe in, what do you want to fight for, how to use your voice, your inner voice. And you don't have to be the loudest person in the room to own the space you're in. It's about your body language. It's about this magnetic aura that you exude. It's like when you walk in, people are like, oh, she's interesting. What is she about? Instead of this whole slunch down, head down, it's like shoulders back, head up, and hey, y'all. You know, I could talk, I could say I haven't always been here at all. like I'm sure that I missed out on a lot of opportunities because I felt like I didn't belong in those spaces. Even now, I still try to remain humble to the point when people ask me to do something like, you want me to do what? Like when Miss Intellectual approached me about doing, the Tuesday night show, didn't have a name for it yet. I'm like, you want me to do what? And then when M3 approached me about Ladies Night, I'm like, me? So like, okay, cool, be the boss up and show up, So here I am. And
We're
so I'm
glad
just
you did.
grateful. And I'm grateful for all of you all support because this is not me alone. It's all because of you all. But if I didn't show up, like you all probably wouldn't have showed up either. So maybe not. Y'all could okay, show goes on. But anyway, I'm sorry. The show will go on, but somebody had to step up. And so I'm like, okay, let's do this. Um, Again, your verbal and nonverbal communication matters just as much. So we talked about times when we didn't feel as empowered or we felt a little less than or whatever, or we let somebody make us feel that way. And let's flip the script and talk about moments where we showed up, we were the queen of the space, whether it was at work, a restaurant, a meeting, just the grocery store or whatever. someone might have tried to push you back, but you're like, not today, not today. So, Queen, you want to share a moment where you were like, not today? I am the queen of the space that I'm in.
Um, I think it's
That's every day for you, though.
well, I've had quite a few recently where I had to be patient with the process. But I continue to show up. I continue to be cordial. I continue to be helpful. I continue to smile. I continue to joke and laugh to the point where if you knew something was wrong with the interaction,
Mm-hmm.
like with the back history, you'd be like, what's wrong with you? And I said, you gotta fake it till you make it. And then one day I showed up and I was told, or we were told, hey, this person is no longer here. And I was
Oh,
like, oh, sorry to hear that. Even though I was like, oh, hell yeah, about time. So, and the person who told us, he knows that I feel this way, but he just looked at me. But anyway, so yeah, I think I've had a lot of situations where I've had to just um
show up.
not necessarily dumb myself down,
Mm.
but to approach differently, because not
Okay.
everybody, like, okay, for instance, I had this one person that was over me. Well, she wasn't over me, but she was in a leadership role. They were in a leadership role, and they were saying some very, very racist, inappropriate
Oh.
things. And I had approached my manager about it, and I told her what happened. And it's not that she took my side, but she just said, that ain't cool. I'm going to show up to support you.
Okay.
But I didn't. So what happened was, it was like, I forgot who was recently deleted. It was like Black Lives Matters, the marching, whatever else. And his manager said, it was two of them, and they're clinicians, like clinical masters, therapists. And I'm like, please stop working with my people. Please stop working with us. But anyway,
That
so I said, well, and one of them said something like, well, why would you talk to them that way? And I said, excuse me? I said, do you not know? I mean, do you not watch TV? And this is like a big wig. And I was just like, I'm done. I said, do you not watch TV? I said, people that look like me, we don't have time to sugarcoat and pacify them. I
Yeah.
need to tell my clients, look, straighten up and act right. You cannot walk the same way. You cannot do what the next person do if they don't look like you. You will be deleted. You will be thrown in jail. They
Yeah.
won't. And she was like, I said, it's so stressful. And she was like, well, maybe this is not the job for you.
Ooh.
So
Mm.
I told my manager, and she said, what? So then we had a meeting, and my manager was the same race as this woman. And I didn't know that she checked her. And the lady was like, oh, I'm so sorry you felt that way. And, so I was sitting there and I was like, I could take the high road, or I could just suck up, punch her in the gut. So I was like, I said, I don't understand what you're saying right now. And she was like, well, if you felt that way, blah, 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 maybe if you feel that way when someone says, I said, what do you mean? I said, you said it. I said, you said it to me. What do you mean, somebody? You said it. And she looked at me like she was shocked that I said it. I said, those words came out of your mouth. I said, so if you lead the group and that's what you lead in with, what do you think the other people are going to follow up and do if I'm the only Black person in the group?
Mm-hmm.
I said, that's why I'm leaving that group, because y'all don't deserve me. You don't deserve to be around me or get my input. So
All
me and
right
my
now.
little 2 cents will go to a group that appreciates me.
Come
I
on
got up.
now.
I said, can I leave now? And my boss said yes. And she was like, I'm so happy you did that. Blah blah. And I thought I was gonna get fired and written out. She's like, no, I wanted you to check her. And this is a manager to another manager. She was like, she needs to own what she did. So yeah. So
That's
it's
what's up.
just yeah, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. Sometimes you have to reap the consequences of speaking up and stepping out. And sometimes you just gotta, like my sister always tells me, every fight's not worth a
Yep.
picket fence and torches. So, I usually call her and vent, and she usually checks me or says, hey, you need to send this, you need to do this. So yes, I'm learning. I'm not
Okay.
always. I'm ready to fight all the time, but Layla Ali, she retired, right? But every now and then you go, them gloves is in the garage. I can go get them real quick.
See, okay. Everybody needs a queen in their life. Oh, Mrs. M3.
So, stepping into spaces where you have to remember there's a scripture that says open rebuke is better than secret love. It's
Mm-hmm.
true. Um, and sometimes what I understand is that people will do things, like I said before, out of their own insecurities. Some of them knowingly, especially, but others of them, it's out of fear.
Okay.
So they choose to do it, but the fear is driving them as opposed to pride. I think insecurity is the root of pride, to be honest.
Mm, okay.
Because if you weren't insecure about how someone thought of you and wanted that status of, think well of me, then you wouldn't adjust yourself to their liking. You would just be
Okay.
yourself, you see.
Okay.
Um, so I've had to, check a few people, coworkers and stuff, but out of love, because I'm not a person that's confrontational. I really dislike confrontation. Um, but I'm also the kind of person, if you've got spinach in your teeth, I'm going to tell you you've got spinach in your teeth. I'm not going to let you talk to 10, 15 different people with the spinach in your teeth and then come to you later afterwards and say, hey, you've got spinach in your teeth. Um, so when I see things that, especially if they're towards me, that are like a person is like trying to step on my head kind of thing at work, I just let their words speak for them. Like, folks are like, oh, how did that conversation go? Here you go. In their words, this is what was said. Nothing added, nothing taken away. Here's the email. Read it for yourself. That's who I am. And people tend to tell on themselves if they talk long enough. So that's how I deal with it, to be honest. Because, especially if it's email, there's always going to be a paper trail. So, yeah. You're on
Okay.
silent.
Sorry. Sorry. Okay. So I want to share one of my moments. Mine's a little different than checking somebody. It was a personal experience. It was my second time, but my first real time doing poetry in front of a group of people. And so, even though I was fairly shy and nervous, I walked up in there with this bright pink hair. I'll have to show y'all pictures later. Like, my hair was My Little Pony, Pinkie Pie pink, like pink, Barbie pink, with some highlights. Anyway, it was pink. And so I had my makeup done, it was cute. So anyway, I at first was so nervous I couldn't even eat. It was like one of those events where your ticket price included a meal. And I'm like, okay, I can't even eat right now, just sip on some water. And when I got up to perform, at first I was like, okay. People were cheering me on. They were like, okay, you got to speak up. We can't hear you. More and more people started showing up and like, okay, cute, because people hadn't been used to seeing me just step out in front of a crowd. And I did stuff at church, but church is different than that. um, and so by the third point in, I was like, And I even have pictures from that night. I had my little tablet, had a little mini tablet then, had a tablet and a microphone, and I was, doing my thing. I'm like, okay. And I'm like, okay, all I had to do was step up, step out, find that inner something within me and say, okay, I'm going to own this space. I know my poetry is good. People like me, but I need to be more confident and exude that confidence. Like, for God's sake, I got pink hair. Like, how much more confident do you need to be? Anyway, so yeah, those are just a couple of moments where I had to show up and say, I belong in this space. Another time I was doing a presentation, I was actually doing a presentation for a youth group. These kids didn't know me. I didn't know these kids. There was none in there that looked like me. So it was like, okay. But when I got there, I stood up, I did my presentation, and everybody participated, and they, we talked afterwards. And okay, QueBee, had I not shown up, had I not presented my information in a confident manner, nobody else would have received it the way that it was intended. So those are just times that I've had to show up and feel good about myself for showing up. So yeah,
That's right.
I
That's
don't
right.
like conflict and arguments either. So I probably won't show too well in those situations. But
And
yeah.
sometimes it's not worth the energy because you'll go away with your way of thinking and they'll go away with their way of thinking after 10 minutes of back and forth. All it does is makes animosity, you know? So you
Yes.
you pick your battles and you go forward from there. Help people to see what you see if you can do that. If you cannot, then you just, they're gonna live their life and you're gonna live yours.
All right.
Hello, Mrs.
I will I will
McKinney.
say that I don't think it has a lot to do with um, not liking arguments or liking argument. I don't like to fight. I fight because I have to. Growing up, I fought because I had to. I didn't fight because I liked it, you
Mm,
know. But I wasn't going to be punked. It took a long time for Queen to snap, and when she snapped, she snapped.
okay.
But I do believe that you know, uh, confrontation is healthy because you don't live in a world where it's non-confrontational. You
Mm-hmm.
don't live in a world where you're gonna say your piece and I'm gonna say my piece and we're gonna kumbaya. It don't. We are the world don't exist.
No.
So with that, you have to learn how to exist in that, not shrink back, and be honest with your truth. We
Yeah.
can all agree to disagree. We don't have to be disrespectful,
Right.
but confrontation is necessary in friendship, it's necessary in life. It's going to happen with the doorman, with the airline pilot. It's going to happen. So you can't avoid it, and I think a lot of people uh not necessarily, you know, make it, I don't know, you can't make it seem like it's going to be this oh, I'm just good. Because then when you walk away, you're still feeling something about it. But you said you were fine. You said you were good. So if you're walking away crying or hurt or, you know, disappointed, that means you're not good. That
Yeah.
means you haven't said what you needed to say. You
Yeah.
know,
In
it's
some
not
in some
necessarily for
spaces,
that. It's not necessarily for that person to go, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I hurt you, and
mhm,
life. I repent, and I'm going to be different. It's not about that. Like I've had to confront several people, and I go, and they go, I don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, but you move differently. Like I had to talk to one person, me and her, very close, and it seemed like when there was bad situations in my life going on, she was right there.
Mm,
But as soon as things were stable and got, going on the upward slope, it's like she disappeared. And I said to her, I was like, like you used to talk to me more. You used to call me more. We used to hang out more. And I was like, what's good? She was like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about, Queen, and blah blah blah. And I'm like, I said, okay, let me just say this. I said, when I was struggling, having a hard time, going through hell, you was right there. Now that I'm doing good, you know where to be found.
Mhm.
That's not a friend. A friend is
No.
there through everything. So that means that what that tells me is that you only wanted to be around me when I wasn't doing well and needed you.
That's the opposite of how most people experience things.
So
But I was going to say,
so
sometimes you have to
now
be good, because if people are going to change and you go away sulking because they're not changing to meet your expectations, you're making yourself miserable. And it's
no,
not a kumbaya necessarily, but it is an understanding that, you know what, this is how this person moves in their space. This is their purpose. It's probably their God given talent. And you can't be mad at them for how God created them. You
that's
can't
not
do
what
it.
I'm talking about.
You
That's
know?
not what I'm talking about. That's
Yeah.
not what I said. What I said was when you live your life and say, oh, I don't do this, I don't do that, that's not life. Then that means that you're being fake, you're being phony. Has nothing to do with a God-given talent. You're going to have confrontation, you're going to have issues, but when you're someone who runs from it and says that relationships shouldn't be hard, that means you don't have true relationships.
No,
Because it's
it's
a
not that
human to human.
relationship
Hold on. It's
shouldn't
a
be
human to
hard,
human. It's a human to human interaction. Humans are
right?
flawed.
Right.
Humans are flawed. So that's all I'm saying. But anyway, I digress.
Okay.
You can argue so much, and then you have to, well, you don't have to. I am a person who will let it go and be fine, because that's how the person is. My coworkers, etc. If that's how they are, I understand and I move on. That's how I am, you know. After the conflict, you can't change a person, you know.
No. All right. I want to welcome Mrs. McKinney, Miss McKinney, Miss Cheryl, to our chat, to our conversation. How you doing, Cheryl?
Hello, hello. How's everybody doing?
All right.
Good.
So,
How are you?
I'm good. I got my sip and I'm ready.
all right.
Oh,
So, what you
hey, what
sipping
you
on
sipping
tonight,
on?
ma'am?
Iced tea. I'm boring.
Well,
It's
I
okay.
got
We need
water.
water.
So, you do it. You got the sugar right there.
Well, it's a mix. It's like a little bit of sweet tea and some water. That's how I drink it.
Okay.
Yeah, a
All right.
Texas thing. I'm glad I got to sit in on this panel. It sounds like you ladies are really getting down. When I walk into a room, I expect to shift the energy toward me. And I don't mean
Okay.
that in a bad way. I mean that in a way of I know my energy is good. So I don't expect to walk into a room and any of my energy be tainted. I expect to have the authority to switch it, over to me. Confrontation is self-care. Like I've got to speak up and say what's on my mind. Now there's I think it was Queen that said there's a respectful way to do it and all that, and I believe that wholeheartedly. I'm grasping that and stepping over into that arena. But self-care, mental care, you've got to speak up for yourself in whatever the situation. I don't care, in my opinion, excuse me. I don't care if you're going to a grocery store and it's something so simple as how you get those checkers that well, before we did our own self checkout, right? When we actually used to have checkers that did our stuff. And one of my pet peeves is slinging my stuff. I don't care if it is just a loaf of bread. Please, if I'm giving you my money and being a cordial customer, then please don't sling my things. And it can then when things like that happen, it can shift my energy. Like I said, excuse me, I had to learn not to let things like that get underneath my skin, but also be able to speak up in an effective way, because that's not only helping me, it's helping the young lady for the next one. Maybe she doesn't sling someone else's bread. So I don't believe in running from confrontation by any means. Don't back down. I think I got to that place in life when both of my parents were deceased. I was like, nobody's backing baby girl into a corner anymore, and certainly not you. I was in a warrior path for a good year and a half, part of grief, but I'm coming out of that. But I still believe that I have to stand up for myself in an effective and respectful way, just like Miss Queen said.
All righty.
Sorry for your loss. It's hard to have both parents gone. I can relate to you for that.
It is. It's a different kind of grownness, isn't it?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I missed that point.
Yeah.
You said
Just
what's
advocating
up?
for herself when her
Oh
parents
yeah.
were
Oh
both
yeah.
deceased.
Yeah. My mother was my biggest advocate, and when she passed, I lost my mind for a while. Then I got it back, and I ain't never lose it again.
Right.
So I'm in
That's
the
the
process of getting mine back. I'm about
She's
76% there.
That's
girl.
specific.
It took a long time. She died in 2000,
Oh,
so
wow.
it took a long time, but it's the tears still come, but they're not as debilitating. I
Mhm.
say that, but they still come.
All
So
And
righty.
both
she
of you
told me
ladies have
she's
lost parents. You said you can identify with me. Did you
I've
not
lost.
feel like this super grownness when this happened, when you kind of stepped out of the grief so much and started to pull yourself together, because both of you ladies, or all of you ladies, sound like you had the type of parents that told you to, head up, buttercup, and let's keep it pushing. When you guys finally got to that point, did you feel like superhuman? Because I did. Like I said, nobody was going to back me into a corner. Nobody was slinging my bread. Nobody was cutting me off on the highway. Like I felt that way. Was it like that for you guys? Is that part of the grief process, maybe?
Maybe. I
uh
think for me it was already. Oh, go ahead. Who's
go ahead.
speaking?
No, go ahead. Go ahead. And this is Empress.
Okay. For me it was. I felt a loss. Like there's no one on earth that calls me daughter. There's no. I'm no one's daughter now. You know. And then I got married and I had parents again and grandparents again. But at that time, there was no one to call me daughter. So I felt that loss. But then my mom was ill for 11 years before she passed away. So I took care of her, and I have siblings who helped me take care of her up until the last uh, 3 years or so. And then I was kind of on my own with her. So the role of parent kind of switched. And then for 2 years, it was good again because I had help with nursing facility and things like that. And she was with friends and, going to A's games and going to church and those things. Like I felt like I got my mom back. And then, she passed away 2 years after that transition. But I think you get if you have parents that are dependent on you, you've already got that sense of kind of the weight of the world is on your shoulders. And if your parent happens to also be the matriarch of the family, you don't have answers. So when they're gone, you're like, what does the family do now? Like they look to my mom for everything. They would stay with us, like all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, growing up, I was resentful of that because every time they would come move in, I lost my room and my bed because somebody needed it. Um, except I guess after I turned 14 or so, she started saying for me, like, she needs her own space. She needs um, but I was resentful because it was like our whole life, like our family struggled when we first moved out here to California. So um, it was a lot of back and forth, a lot of different, mom's got a place. Okay, let's go to mom. But there's too many of you in a 2 bedroom. So now everybody's evicted, even mom and the youngest. And now the youngest is still at home. Mom gets sick and the responsibility of taking care of mom. The oldest wants to do it. Mom doesn't want the oldest to do it. So now it's the youngest responsibility. And it was just really tough. And I think I grew up in a space where the older generation, my mom, needed us, but the younger generation were developing their families and having kids. My nieces and nephews are my age, and they were having their kids. And the little kids that are now in their 20s look at us like, wow, like we were growing up with you guys, but we felt like grandma raised us. And it's true because grandma raised everybody. Um, and it's a hard reflection to see when you look back, like there were so many pieces of the puzzle that were depending on you, that there were some pieces of the puzzle, like you didn't even know that they were feeling avoided or they were feeling left out because you were busy with the tunnel vision to take care of the things that were right in front of you, and having conversations now that they're grown, it's like, wow, like how they felt and things like that. But um, my sisters helped my father because my father also, like my mom, became ill, but my father had cancer. My mother had diabetes and she was blind and an amputee. Um, my dad could see, he was functioning, he was working up until the time he got really, really sick and started losing a lot of weight from cancer in his abdomen. But I wasn't present with my dad in that situation. I'd come to visit, try to be supportive to my sisters and my younger brother. But all of us were raised by our moms. And so when he needed us, we were there. We tried to be there the best we could for him. And then he passed away. And that's when my dad passed away 3 years after my mom. That's when I felt like, oh, there's nobody on earth that calls me daughter. Like it just felt like hollow, like this absence, of that part of me being able to identify, So yeah. Hey, Missy, she said, how are you? Yeah. So,
I wanted to say that I didn't, after the grief, I didn't feel like a badass grown woman. It was like a 50-50. Like at times I felt like I was a little kid,
Right.
lost, even after the grief.
Mm-hmm.
So older women in my life who were like mother figures, or um, my older siblings when they weren't being selfish. My older sisters, they were kind of like there. Um, but I did feel like I had, because my dad would always say, out of everybody, you have your mother's spirit. And so at times I would take on the role from, going from a little kid, I would take on the role as the peacekeeper in the family. Like, oh, stop calling your sister a B. She frustrated, she feeling this, or blah, 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 you know. And then it would be, hey, I haven't heard from you in a while, Queen. What's going on with you? Oh, I'm missing mom. So so it was like a balance. And yeah, but I just say that, I live every day to make her proud, you know. So, and that's the energy that I keep on going, because, my mother, didn't have a degree, but she worked in the hospital, had 6 kids, and if the doctors could have had her in surgery, they probably would have had her doing the surgery, because that's how much she knew what she was doing. Like, I didn't even know what her role was at the hospital. All I knew is that they knew her at that hospital, and she was bigwig in that hospital, from being in that hospital so long, to the point where I didn't even have to make an appointment. I would just like show up, and they'd be like, "Oh, that's right. You need to get your shots, or you need to this. Okay, go to this floor." And I'd be in, I was a little kid, and I'd be on the elevator taking stuff to the different floors to the doctors. And they'd be like, "Oh, Queen, you're Queen's daughter. Okay, how you doing?" I'm like, "I'm fine," like I used to run around that hospital like it was a playground to a certain extent. So yeah. So I kind of took on that role of her, you know. So but yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, ladies, so much for sharing that. Unfortunately, my story is different. My mother passed away when I was 17, so I didn't have any adult years with her. I have not a lot to really pull from. Um, but from what I do know about my mom, because we didn't live together over the course of my life. Well, we didn't get together until I was 12. So from 12 to 17 was the time that we had together. Now, of course, I saw her summers and holidays because she still lived in Texas. So we still saw each other, communicated all that. It just, we lived together once she retired when I was 12. Anywho, so in between that time, I vowed to not take on a lot of her characteristics because she was not a upfront, step forward kind of person. Like there were times, yeah, she stood her ground, but for the most part, she was a go with the flow kind of, whatever kind of person, not very goal oriented. Yes, she had multiple side hustles, as they call it, but she wasn't just this go getter kind of person. And so looking back over that, I'm like, okay, I need to be different. Not saying better than her because she still taught me a lot in the time that we had. I need to be different. My dad, on the other hand, that's another story. And no, I don't want to be. No. I didn't get to live with him. The last time I saw him was when I was about 11. Yeah, that's a whole other story. But I want to address some of the comments. So I want to say hello to a unicorn word. Hi, ladies. Mrs. She says, imagine being abandoned by living parents, drugs for one, and working lots for the other. It's a different kind of independence, responsibility, and being resourceful. That sense of abandonment was something to work through. I just salute to you, Mrs. M3, for sharing. Um, Princess K said hugs Mrs. M3. Let's see. Cola Nix shows love to Mrs. M3. Let's see. Cola Nix says conflict avoidance is a type of people pleasing behavior that typically arises from a deep rooted fear of upsetting others. Yeah. Most tendencies trace back to growing up in an environment that was dismissive or hypocritical. Cola, get out of my head, girl. Or sir, I'm sorry, whoever. I'm sorry. I think balance of the two is important. Healing is forever, ladies. So sorry for you all's loss. Thank you so much for that. Um, Mrs. She said, I've learned in my years to pick my battles. And then Cola Nick Skills says, yes, but Kenny, when you're talking about you shift the energy when you walk into a space. Hello to Mr. Bryant. Um, okay, just want to make sure I get everybody. Cola Nix is learning to effectively communicate. Um, let's see, just want to make sure I get everybody. Okay. And then everybody's speaking to each other. So thank you all so much for keeping it live and jumping in the chat. All right. So Miss McKinney, Miss Cheryl, to go back a little bit, because before we wrap up, I want to give you the opportunity to talk about moments in your life when either one, you didn't show up, or you allowed people to make you feel less than, like, make you shrink yourself. You didn't feel very empowered. And on the flip side of that, moments that you showed up and you're like, I'm owning this space, whether it was work, home, community, wherever. So one is the negative side, one is a positive side.
So I'm at that stage in my life where I feel like the parts where I didn't step up was not stepping up for myself. Like I've always, been in that space for other people, other people's cheerleaders,
Hmm.
all those kinds of things. So when I say, or when you ask me a question of a time when I didn't show up, that would be from the age of 23
Okay. That's specific.
to 40, 42, maybe, somewhere around in
Really.
there, because I was all about people pleasing
Mhm.
and, taking care of other people. And then what was the second part of the question?
The positive side where you was like chin up, shoulders back. I'm walking into whatever space it is and I am owning it.
42 and a half, when the kid went off to college and I had my own little space. I had to figure out, what I wanted to do here all of those stories about what, different people do when they become empty nesters, more babies, lots of relationships, those kinds of things. And I really wanted to stay focused and show up for myself. So that's around the time when I started doing some podcasting. I started doing some positive things in my community, started taking on more roles in my church and, really owning them, not just getting delegated responsibilities and, halfway walking through them, like doing them, um, talking about some process improvements, baby girl speaking up. No longer just sitting in the corner anymore. Like I said, people pleasing. Now I'm people pleasing, but I'm doing it in a different way. I guess more in the forefront as opposed to being so submissive. And I must say, I like it here. I do like it here.
I was gonna say, I hope it's things you like doing. I don't
I
know, my
love it
mic
here.
is doing something funny. I
Hey,
hope it's things you like
I
doing.
say I say do it because I um always put myself out there, meaning like jobs or whatever else. And I've been offered a few positions, like I want to say like in a 10-minute interview, they're they come back, they put me in a Zoom room and they come back and they go, hey, can you start? And I'm like, then when I see that offer letter, I'm like, mm-mm, I'm worth, well, you know, uh, I can go to HR and see if I can get you more. If you can, this is what I'm worth. I'm not taking any, before I would just go, okay, it's a new opportunity. I can make, no, 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 mm-mm. Nope. Don't call me if you ain't talking this figure.
You're like,
If
I'm
you
not a new
want
hire
me,
no more. That's
if you
period.
want me, even in that, I come with too much experience. I come with too much resources. And so, yeah, I mean, maybe when I first got out of college, but now I don't play that. I don't play that. And you
I
ain't gonna
think
give me
that
no
is
long
absolutely
job
awesome.
description and want to pay me peanuts, because that's what you're not gonna do. And then you're not gonna micromanage me. If you tell me to do my job, it's getting done. Why you breathing down my neck like you my boyfriend? Because I ain't no hickeys over here. Like, get out of my neck. My neck zone is not for you. Back up. It's only one person that belong in that neck zone.
Greatness. Greatness. I too have done, a lot of things career wise, but I can't even say that was for myself. That was more about making the money to be able to do the things I needed to do for whomever I needed to do them for. So, again, I'm like in the space of trying to do something for me.
Indeed. I think we all, as women, sadly, society, I'm not pointing at any gender. So, again, society will try to say, you don't belong here. This is not your space. This is not your time. You should try something else that's less than what you know you're capable of doing. Society will try to put you in a box, in a corner, and all that jazz. And like, it's time for women to step up and step out and speak up, use our voice, use our platforms. We have so much more power than we realize. Um, Again, M3, then you have to step away for a minute. I'm gonna have him post the link. And so basically it gives a timeline of women around the world from the early like 1500s, maybe even before then, to early Egypt. It shows different women who were prominent at that point in history, what they did, and then it gives you statistics on, even though they made these accomplishments, well, women still fall behind in a lot of different areas. So, um, for those of you in the chat, once the link is posted, it's an interactive link, and it's very informative, um, educational. So please, check it out. Um, but definitely, I'm loving everything everyone has said, and I appreciate all of you. We're definitely gonna let the men come up to share their 2 cents. But I want to share some last few things with you all. It's like, for those of you who may be still wondering or struggling, if that's the right word, with, okay, how do I take ownership of the space that I'm in? And again, There are times other women will try to put us down. We talked about we are our own worst enemy. Other women will see you living your most authentic self, being your best self, and they'll be like, how dare she? They'll say
Ooh, I
something
missed
to you.
that. I missed it.
They will try to say something to you to
Mhm.
make you like question yourself. Now, okay, I'm guilty of, I see women, okay, and maybe this is still me being biased and whatever, so somebody check me. When I see women just being extra loud, extra, extra, and I don't like to use the G word, and I'm not going to use it here, but what society says a black woman, like ghetto, like that's the word. So it's like,
Oh, that's a good word.
I'm
Good
trying to
word.
keep it classy here, but people are so quick to say, "Oh, that's ghetto." Even us of the same skin tone, we not we here, but we'll turn our nose up and like, "Oh, that's so ghetto." She's so ratchet and so whatever. But where do we as women stop doing that to each other instead of either appreciating that person or acknowledging them for where they are? And if they're doing something detrimental to themselves, like, okay, baby, have you thought about this? Have you considered this? There are ways to talk to people and interact with people without belittling them. So, but I'm gonna give these
Mhm.
three tips right quick, and then I'm gonna let y'all come back in. I'm sorry, y'all. So three tips on how you can step into and own your space. Make decisions that you belong. I belong here. I'm worthy. I've earned this, and can't nobody tell me different. Point blank and to the period. I am worthy. As Queen say, I know my worth. Come back with a better offer. No, thank you, no, ma'am. Uh, don't judge yourself against other people. That is mine. That's me. I look at other people like, well, they have the car, they have the house, they have, but they did different things to get to where they are. I didn't walk that same path. So that is not my life, and it's not going to be my life in this moment because I'm not doing those same things that they're doing. So what I am doing, where I am, I need to be confident, competent, and own it. While I'm advancing. But I cannot continue to compare myself. You know, they're taller than me, they're skinnier than me, their hair is longer than mine. Like I look at my little short little fro, it's growing, she growing. But it's like, give me about 2 years, she'll be out to here. Uh,
Beautifully too. Growing beautiful.
but anywho, and the last one, develop your leadership presence, like Miss Kenny said. Miss McKinney said, I walk in and I know who I am. Like, what you got to say? Nothing. Okay. You know, anyway, practice your power pose physically, and then like your nonverbal cues are just as important as your verbal communication skills. So practice it all. Stand in the mirror like, I am woman, I am whatever your name is, and this is who I am, this is what I do. Like I used to do a lot of stuff for free for people, but lately I'm like, okay, I'm worth more than that. So that's why I created a business where now you got to pay me for the skills because I went to college. I got a degree for this. So like, you're gonna pay me for these skills
That's right.
anyway. I'm gonna stop talking. And ladies, y'all come on in. We're gonna start with Miss McKinney. Um, any final words you would like to add to the conversation?
Oh my goodness, I'm just like kicking myself in the foot because I missed part of that. I'm just really glad that I got to be a part of the panel. I love the spirits of all of you ladies. Is absolutely wonderful. The only thing I want to chime in and say is probably about a couple of years I came up with in my head as far as the female to female relationships and them trying to make you feel some type of way that it is not my fault if you think that I think I'm better than you. I'm sorry. I think
Mm.
I got kicked out.
No,
No,
we hear. We see you. We hear
Oh,
you.
there's
Miss
some stuff
McKinney.
flashing. It was pretty, and I was like, oh.
Oh,
No,
So I'm sorry, but I was saying it's not my fault if you think that I think I'm better than you, because if you communicate with me, I assure you that's not me or my energy. in any type of way. So great conversation. Again, I'm glad to be on a panel with such strong women and transparent shares. And I hope it won't be the last time I get to talk to you ladies.
Well, you
Oh, we
always
hope
have an
you'll come
open
back too.
invitation. I'm sorry, Miss M3.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I just said you have an open invitation. So, look, come on back.
Thank you.
Alrighty. And just for everyone, sorry y'all, this is the website. Like if you click on, I don't know if Mr. M3 can click on the scroll down. So anyway, this goes back to 400 BC. And so it tells you who the person is, and then it tells you statistics. And so it just keeps going down through time, through history. So if you get a chance, just, please go check it out and learn a little bit of something about women around the world who have you know, made some strides and got some things done. Look, even in the 1800s, we know what life was like for women back then. Let alone now in the 2019s, in the 2000s. So just take some time and go through the website, and me and y'all might learn a little something too. You know, and maybe me and you will feel empowered to help your lady counterparts out. So, but I'm not gonna get on that soapbox tonight. So Mrs. M3, go ahead, please. I'm sorry.
Oh, I just want to say thank you everyone for tuning in tonight. Thank you so much for um, being a part of our journey. And I hope that what we share is helpful and healing as you all show up for us every other Saturday when we're here. Miss QB, thank you so much for hosting graciously with your wonderful and just genuine heart to share your innermost self with us, with your beautiful radio voice. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Thank you, Queen, for always being here and sharing your insight. And thank you, Miss McKinney, for showing up today. We hope that you will come back.
Alrighty. And Queen, of course, last but not least. Don't want to clear your throat, man.
Let me say, I just want to say, um, you just be authentic to who you are. You know, if you don't rock, don't rock. If you roll, roll down the hill. I mean, just be true to who you are, and know that if your light is shining bright, it's not my fault that your light bulb went out. It's not. Now, I can support you and get you a better bulb, but don't get mad because my light bulb didn't go out. But to also be honest.
Mhm.
Be honest with your feelings, be honest with your thoughts, and move on. You know, be true to yourself, because when you start living in lies and run from stuff and act like you good and you ain't, it's gonna catch up because it's
Yeah.
not you. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay to have a little confrontation. It's healthy. I believe confrontation's healthy. I believe if it's done the right way, you know.
Hmm.
But when me and my friends are kicking it and we laughing too much, I look at them sideways. I'm like, I know you did something, and then I'm like, you really not going to deal with how you pissed me off the last conversation we had? You really not going to deal with that? You really not going to deal with how you've been ignoring my phone calls because I know you feeling something because that's how you get down.
Yep.
Like, you know what I mean? Like you know people,
Yes.
you know. Like I said before, I had a friend who she was going through something. I was going through something. She felt like I was being sensitive to what she was going through. I thought I was, but apparently I wasn't being as sensitive as she needed me to be. And she had to tell me, she was like, look. And I was like, okay, I started feeling something about it. And then she, we came back. She apologized for how she came at me. And then I apologized for how I came at her, or how I didn't come at her, or you know, if her needs weren't being met by me, I told her, I said, I got a lot of talents. But Miss Cleo is not my cousin, and I cannot read your mind. So if you needed something, I just needed you to say it. Whether
Mm-hmm.
I would have been able to do it or not, I just need you to say it. Even if you say, you know, Queen, I'm pissed off at you because you blah blah blah. You called me and it was foul. I felt like you were being selfish. Okay, I may have a pushback to you, but at least I know it's out there. You know,
Yeah.
I can't fight an invisible demon. Like I ain't got that power. I wish I did, because I'd be in a different field, making a lot of money. But I can't fight the invisible man. So
Okay.
that's all I'm saying. Be true to you. Be true and
Oh,
honest, and that's it. Keep it pushing.
alrighty.
That's all I'ma say.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you, ladies. Now we're gonna invite some fellas up if you want to come up and talk about. I want fellas to talk about how can you be of assistance in helping women own the space they occupy. How can you be advocates, rather, when society tries to push women aside, left and right to the back? How can men step up, especially the ones that say they love their women, no matter what ethnicity she is, what age she is, whether she's their wife, girlfriend, or not, sister, daughter, cousin, something? How can men be advocates for women to help them find and hold on to their power and own the space they occupy? So, men, come on up. I'm gonna invite you 3 times, and then we gonna call it a day. But I want to read Princess K's comments. She says, "Walk into a room like I'm here, damn it." Excuse my French. It says, "Learn how to read a room." That part. Be charming. That can happen by simply listening to people and being attentive to the conversation. You ain't gotta walk in like, boom, hey y'all, I'm here. Just walk in and just like, okay, um, and speaking less is always a great trait to have. You don't have to speak and respond to everything. Indeed. Um, okay. And so the website, I don't know if you put it in the chat. I don't think you put it in the chat, Princess K, but M3, can you put the link? Okay. He put the link in the chat. So if you got time, go back and look at it and read some of those informational pieces about the ladies that have made strides in history in their time frame in their countries. Hopefully, you're inspired to do something right in your own little neck of the woods. So, okay, men, like I don't see anybody rushing up here, so I guess y'all don't want to come up in the Queen's Court with all the lionesses. We're not gonna bite today.
Don't be scared.
I'm not gonna bite today. I already ate.
Shit. I ain't never gonna bite. You might catch something.
Hey, that's a fat lie. Y'all bite, y'all growl, all that. All right.
What
So,
Yes,
the?
where your hush puppies at? They ran away, didn't they? I told you.
Here we go.
hey man, hey, sometimes we gotta put the dogs to sleep sometime, The dog gotta rest. But
Oh
anyways,
God.
look, first and foremost, right? Let me say this, right? Ain't no woman is gonna confront me. If they do, I will redirect their ass back to their man, and then we could have a conversation. That's first and foremost.
What
Second
happened to
part,
clean and classy? That just went out the window, didn't it?
hey, this is as classy as
What are you
advocate, okay?
talking about? Ain't nobody.
Hey,
Here you come. Don't come up here with your. You need some light in your world. Get out of that dark room.
hey, first and foremost, hey, QB sent us a formal invitation, okay? So thank you very much. But
Welcome, Mr. M3.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you for posting the
Kick him.
video for us. We needed that.
Kick
Oh
him
yeah, I
out.
know.
You
But
better be
anyway,
glad I ain't a moderator.
Okay, go
all
ahead,
right,
sister.
all right. So, what was the question again?
How can men advocate for women in spaces where society tries to push them back, push them aside, and make them feel like they don't belong?
Mm, sure, that's a tough one.
Okay,
Um,
first of all, I guess, do you advocate? And you better say yes because your wife is right. Do you speak up and advocate for women if you see a woman being done wrong? like really done wrong, like, do you try to say, okay, that's not cool, that's not kosher? Um,
Well, to be honest with you, right? I only advocate for the ones that's close to me. So of
okay,
course, I mean, it wouldn't even be no like advocation, right? It would be something else to another level. If someone was to be disrespectful to my wife, you already know how we get down, you know. But anyone else, shit, I don't give a
You
shit.
don't care.
Nope, I do not. Because you know why?
'Cause-
Those same women, right, would be like, look, I
oh
don't need you
Lord.
to advocate for me. I am a strong, independent woman. I could advocate for myself or whatever, right? Until shit hit the fan, and then they will be like, oh, you was a weak dude, right? You was so weak. You just stood behind the sidelines. You didn't advocate. You didn't speak up for me. Look, man, I don't have time for this conundrum. Look, I advocate for people that act like they have some sense, and deserve it.
Wow. You all the men to come up. You gotta come up with this. You come up here with this poopy kosh. Like I'm just saying.
Hey, she
You
asked me a
can't, you
question.
can't, you
I had
can't.
to give her the
Hey,
right
hey,
answer.
hey, no, hold on. You can't advocate for the women because you're probably the one we need advocation from.
oh
Because you out here talking to us crazy and reckless. Get your
god.
mind right. Yeah. Get your
I
mind
will
right,
say,
M3.
Yeah.
I will say, Mr. M3, he is a person who he advocates for the right. So if whether it's woman or man, the conflict is like you're at fault, he's gonna take you aside and be like, stop.
Okay.
And if you're not at fault and somebody's conflicting with you, then he's like, hold on, hold on, hold on. Let's, everybody take a chill for a minute. Let's resolve it.
Oh, somebody got it.
Um,
Now, now,
but
now,
but
now, now, Mrs. M3,
he
hand
doesn't
him
get
back,
involved with everybody's stuff though.
Mrs. M3, hand him back that paper he just handed you to read.
I was in a separate room.
Hand
Because
him
I'm
back,
sitting here
hand
like
him
super
back
I
that
was in
jealous.
a separate
paper
room.
he just handed you to read.
I'm like, if that means we can
Hey,
be yoked, I don't know
you
what
see,
is. Like, you
Hello,
just
no,
went
no,
to the
that ain't got
you,
nothing. He
you
took
see that?
notes for
There is
her.
some.
He took notes and handed her his notepad.
I got no
This is
papers
what
right
you
here. No
say.
papers.
Hey, Queen, right? Look, this is pure unscripted. Okay, look,
range.
man, we gotta let them know, right? Look,
That's
we
experience.
know, yeah, we know how people get down. Look, let me tell you this, okay? I will advocate, right? For ones that deserve avocation, right? But see, there's different styles to it. I can either advocate and be civil, or we could advocate like the show of Empire. If you watch Empire, you know how they get down when they have their avocation behind the scenes. But anyways, you know, besides that, people deserve to be advocated, you know, and they act like they can't speak up for themselves. I'll do that at least one time. After that, like, look, if you act like you can't advocate yourself, but yet you run your mouth about men this and men that, then hey, I'm sorry, I can't really help you at that point. But
And the
hey,
true M3 comes out.
You guys are a really cute couple, I just want to say.
Oh,
thank you, Miss
thank
Kendrick.
you. Thank you, Miss
Appreciate
Mr.
it.
McCollum.
Mr. M3, Mr. M3, I know. I just I always gotta give you a hard time. So, I know how you are. I know how
Yeah,
you get
hey,
down.
you
So
better say that
yeah, I
disclaimer.
know.
You want your
Well, where my money at?
reparations.
You better pay me. Where my $20 at that you promised me to say that?
Oh wow. But yeah, that's all. I just want to come up for a bit.
Well, I want to
Thank
say
you.
this. There are ways that men can help out. Um, it's like if there's some policies and procedures on your job that are being, reformed, speak up for, okay, this doesn't apply to women. This doesn't give them enough, leeway, like things that can benefit everybody. Speak up in those ways. When it comes
Mhm.
to laws and legislation, speak up, vote for something. If there's a woman running for a position and you know she's the best candidate, vote for her, advocate. If you can't campaign for somebody, like I'm in a position with the radio station I work for, I can't openly campaign for anybody. So, but behind the scenes, I can still show my support put my candidate of choice. So just there are all
Mhm.
kinds of ways that men can step up for women. If someone is now we know that women face microaggression at work, usually from other counterparts, you know. Um, Step in and be like, you know what? Not today. Can you go on somewhere else with that conversation? Like there are subtle, less well, I'm trying to find the right word. Let's there are nicer ways. I'm always the let's do this a nicer way. I know Queen would be like, "Well, no, you need to step out of that." But anyway, that's fine.
Well, we gotta
Sorry.
have a balance to something, you know. I think the best advocation, right, for what a man could do to help women out is to advocate for the art of accountability. That's it, you
Okay.
know. So the only time you'll hear me be vocal is when you guys need some accountability, and I
Oh
strongly
gosh, here we
advocate for that.
go. Wait. So you saying the only time you're gonna be vocal is when women need to be held accountable? What
Strongly
about you
vocal.
men? Get out
Hey,
of here. Can somebody boot him off the show? Where's
The
all
Mr.
right.
guys have
Best
had
in the
that
world?
conversation
And
before
for
though
this, I'm
too. They were like, the guys were like, oh, well, guys hold each other accountable, and it's really obvious because of the change that you see in men. Whereas women, you say you hold each other accountable, but there's no change. And I remember we came back at them with women can hold each other accountable, but it's up to the woman to choose to
Yep.
follow the advice of their sisters, their sister girls. So
And
I
that's why
remember that
he got
conversation.
off. That's why he ran off.
Because
Cause
yeah, he
he
didn't want
know
to have that
he
conversation tonight again.
exactly. He know he full of it. It's okay. He
Lord.
ran. Why you run? Why you running, M3?
He's
Stop
still there.
running.
He just stepped
I
down.
know he is.
He can hear you.
That's
So
right.
Mr. Intellectual came back with, I still be trying to help people on like M3. No, I'm joking. I be chilling. See, okay, men.
That's not true. Whatever.
Yeah. Anywho, y'all, but I have enjoyed y'all this Saturday night. Last week I thought it was Friday and it was Saturday, but I got my mind right. Over the last time we did, I'm like, it was Friday night. Like, no, Saturday. But okay. Ladies, any final words? Let's do some unshameless plugs. Where can people find y'all? What y'all doing? We haven't talked about what you're gonna be intentional. Yeah, we need to what we gonna be intentional about. Fall has rolled in. Summer was like, I see y'all the next go round, except for y'all out there in California and all them. But over
No,
here in
we got rain.
Arkansas, uh,
It's autumn. We got rain this week.
okay. So
Mhm.
autumn just kind of showed up. It's sweater weather. Y'all gotta go watch the Saturday Night Live clip when the lady be talking about sweater weather. I can't say it like they say it. Anyway, so what y'all gonna be intentional about? We're gonna go around. So Mrs. M3, what you gonna be intentional about going forward?
I have 2 days off from work because of the Rosh Hashanah. They've
Okay,
added a couple of days to our calendar that are like recess. They just call it recess. They don't give any religious title to it. And I think a lot of California schools have done that.
okay,
And some are still arguing about it. Um, but they're going to figure it out. So I'm going to be intentional about having a balance between work and relaxation because I came home with papers to grade, but I do not intend to spend my whole 2 days grading papers. I'd
no
rather have
ma'am, no ma'am.
get it
Yes,
done and relax.
M3 gotta hold her accountable to that. Okay, all right, Miss McKinney, what are you going to be intentional about this fall season, the next month, whatever?
I just keep screaming it. I'm going to be intentional about doing what it takes to make me happy. I've got some things coming up on the porch. Tomorrow, we're actually going to have a conversation, excuse me, about mental health.
Yes.
So if you ladies are available at 7:30, or excuse me, 7, what time is your show, Miss McKinney? What time is the show? It is 7 o'clock Central Standard Time. We'll be streaming on Facebook and YouTube. And so I'm hoping I can get through that conversation without breaking down. And again, I hope you guys can join us. We're also available on Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, Apple. We are a podcast that are just now stepping into the visual side of things. So hope to see you guys soon.
All
Can you
right.
put your link in the chat so everyone can link in, subscribe to your channel?
Let's try. I will try. Here we go.
Or put it in the background, and then maybe Mr. M3 or Mr. Intellectual Soapbox can do it for you into the chat.
Okay, thanks.
All righty. Oh, Princess K came back with, I love makeup. It's therapeutic to practice on my own. Do I go out barefaced often? Yes. I love my skin as a whole. I am trying to embrace my skin more often. Like all week, I feel like I look like a bomb because I wear my little Minnie Mouse, as everybody call it, my little headband, no makeup, no eyebrows, and just yeah. Anyway, I don't even comb my hair all week. Okay,
That is
Queen,
too cute.
Queen, I'm sorry, your turn, ma'am. Did she say?
No, I'm here. You know I'm here. Let's see. Um, no, I think this week, this month, I am doing a lot behind the scenes, and I really feel like I have to really fight hard to be intentional to practice self-care in the
Okay.
mix of getting busy. And I'm not a very organized person. Like I'm a chaos, but I get it done. Like, organized chaos. That's what I call myself. And I have some great opportunities to have some potential major collaborations coming up. And
Ooh.
and I really have to be mindful of one, having a schedule and really sticking to it, and two, um, returning those emails, because my sister always say, you a founder, CEO, you didn't get my email. And I'm like, nah, what? Just call me. And I can't work like that. But yeah, and just getting some things done, like really going after some things, and I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah, I'm excited to get busy, if that makes sense, because I know it's going to be a lot, but I'm just really excited with what is at my door, and I'm about to open it, and it's going to be crazy. Like, it's it's crazy. I mean, I wish I could go into details. I'm just trying to do big things in a short amount of time so I could chill. So yeah. So that's it. And then I have a vacation coming up. Finally, I have like over 300 hours of time off, and I
Oh
just
my
need to use some of it.
girl.
And then I get a 30-day like sabbatical. I still got that, and I'm like, my coworker's like, take it. My boss is like, when you leaving? He's like,
Now.
go. And I'm like, okay. But anyway, so yeah, so that's why I'm gonna be intentional about self-care and getting disciplined.
Okay. Well, I'm going to be intentional about like being more organized and balanced, find balance to my shows because I'm about to release some more Q Spot episodes. I've been so relaxed with the Q Spot all summer long, and like, okay, QueBee, look, you're trying to build a brand, you know, you can do it all, girl. You can. Yeah. In the midst of that, I'm working on some press on nail designs for people and trying to make a few extra dollars here and there. So,
Super
yeah.
cute. You should show it.
I don't know if they'll show up on camera. So this is one set that I've worked on. Um, they're not designed because I wait on the people to try on their sizes. Um, but basically, I take the clear nail and put, gel. I build it up and put some polish on it, and
That
so
one's
now this.
pink, right?
Well, it's kind of a peachy. It's a cover color, so it's kind of a peachy pink kind of color. Um, Working on all sizes and things. But first, I got to get these little busted nubs together. Anyway, but yeah, Oh, and I've been challenged by one of my little, I call them my sugar babies, to look into a cosmetic line. So I do want to do a couple eyeshadow palettes with some of my taglines and all that. So I'm at least doing the research on how to get that going. So yeah, just trying to do
Um,
something.
I want to put a plug in there. I don't own the rights to them. I don't own them in any way, but WeBuyBlack.com. If
Mm-hmm.
you are familiar with Amazon, you can use them just the same. All of the companies within WeBuyBlack.com are Black-owned, family-operated companies,
Mm-hmm.
and they have toothbrushes, they have underwear, they have like household products to clean your house with, all kinds of stuff. So go there, check it out, WeBuyBlack.com, support an African American family-owned and operated business today.
Okay. All right.
And get
Awesome.
your stuff up there if you're a person that sells things. If you're merchandise, you're like looking on somewhere to warehouse it and get it to the public. They're looking for people. They want to represent you. So,
All right. Awesome. All right. So lastly, and I apologize, OG Patrice. I totally did not give her a shout out earlier. Thank you for stopping by and joining. And then we have um, okay. Princess K says, okay, she talked about the makeup. She says, oh, M3's talking about, I swear if I was president of this country, I would ban all use of makeup. She says, I'm from Koji, and technically they did the closest thing to the pastor's daughter. I had to wear skirt dresses below the knee, fitted but not tight, and ironed. Stockings were a must and presentable hair. Um, she said, M3, if you ban the use of makeup as president, I would gather people to burn all the video games, collectible hats, and design sneakers. So yeah, you take our makeup, we taking y'all Jordans and stuff, snapbacks and all that.
it's
so,
all out war.
so since we want to burn, let's burn it all. Let's all
Nah, you ain't taking the video games out of this house.
burn.
No way. That's our woosah. He got his console. I got mine. No way. I'm gonna
Oh
fight
god.
against the women on that one.
Oh my gosh. But alrighty. I want to thank you all, Miss McKinney. You're always welcome, and thank you. Your presence is enjoyed. I truly enjoy your presence. And thank you for being a sister boss, sister friend, and all that jazz. And everyone, go out this upcoming week, own the space you're in, exude that power that resides in you. It's not about being cocky, it's just about being confident. Don't sit too far in the back. Sit at the table where decisions are being made. Use your voice. Let your magical aura just come out everywhere. And people will respect you. They might not like you, but they will respect you. Anywho, that's going to do it for another ladies' night sip and chat. Just still got my water, but y'all get whatever floats your boat. Anywho, join us again in 2 weeks. Thank you all.
Good night.
Good night.
DJ.